Hey, it's Mark Ferguson with Invest for More. We're outside the laundromat. We're going to see how many quarters we can collect this week. Last week we almost had 10,000. We're just short. And this week I think is going to be really, really good based on the weekend having a record amount of cash in the change machine and just a lot of people being here. Now, I did have Fun Car Friday, and I know for some reason this bothers people when I drive this car, but it's fun for me, and it's fun to see kids and people enjoy the car. So I don't know why it bothers people, but anyway, we drove it today, and it does have a part of the story of the laundromat visit as well. We'll talk about later. All right, so first off, checking the change machine, and we had some issues with the change machine this week. I don't know if you saw our short that I did. I think it was actually today, but both sides stopped working, and this is like the lifeblood of the laundromat, and I need this to be working. And so one side I was able to get working by just cleaning everything. It's been a little while since we put our change cleaning thing through there. A lot of cash in here too. And then the other side we just had to reset. So it all worked. Everything's fine. Nothing major. But for a couple hours, people weren't able to get quarters. So panic averted. Another really, really good sign here is I was filling up our change machine because I have to fill this up. Like all the way full before the weekend or else we'll run out. We almost ran out of quarters this last weekend. We had $1,461 in the change machine, and each of these holds $750. But I am out of quarters, so those are all the quarters that I collected last week are already in the change machine. And usually when I do that, that means we're going to have a better week than last week. And I did use my secret stash of quarters to fill that up as full as I possibly could. And sometimes I am there on the weekend. And I actually was this last weekend too, but I looked in there on Sunday and there seemed to be plenty of quarters and we still almost ran out. We also had some cleaning lady drama this week. So she keeps leaving the mop bucket full of dirty mop water. There's a drain right there. That's the drain. So I was checking to see if she did that. She props the door open with little small rocks in the door jamb, and our door literally stopped closing right the other day because of that. And I had asked her probably 4 times not to do that, and she still was doing it, and then some other issues too. So we may be finding a new cleaning lady. We'll see. All right, first off, let's see how the vending machine looks. Did get a bunch more snacks last week, restocked it, and that was heavy. That's the easiest way to tell how much money's in there is by weight. I know you can't really hold that on YouTube, but you'll have to believe me when I say that was heavier than normal, and a lot of quarters in there. Did get more beef jerky. The beef jerky seemed to sell really fast, and that's our most expensive item. So restocked that, and then the pop machine we'll check as well. Sorry, soda machine or / Coke machine, depending on what part of the country you're from. We're in Colorado, and I hear both pop and soda used all the time. As a kid, I feel like I used to always say pop. Then as I got older, I kind of switched to soda, and then it's back and forth now. I forgot to get Sprite. I forgot we're out of that. Coke is really low. Water's a little low. And, there's quite a bit in here, too. So this soda machine / pop machine / Coke machine has been doing better and better as well. And then there were some people here who had some issues, and then I helped them with that. And later on, they're like, oh, I wish there was A&W root beer in here. I'm like, we do have A&W, and I looked, and my sticker was almost completely peeled off because there's some kids who like to peel off all the stickers on the pop machine and my washers and dryers, and that gets a little bit frustrating. Now, some people would say, well, why don't you just put on like a regular label on the inside of the pop machine? Because you got to take the whole thing apart and take apart electronics, and there's no way I'm risking it breaking to do that, because the machines do break, and I feel like once they break, then they just keep breaking more and more and more. So we had to replace my old pop machine because it stopped working right, and could not figure out what was wrong with it. Tried a bunch of different things, and ended up getting this one, which was a smoking deal. And we still have an extra pop machine and vending machine. Honestly, I don't think I've ever even seen them at our supply shop. And I could put them at the liquor store, the new liquor store, but not sure about that. I don't know if they'll get abused and vandalized at night or not, or if they would be okay. Here's the soap machine, which has quite a bit gone. Not like a massive amount, but quite a bit. We do have a lot of regulars at the laundromat, and I think, you know, the regulars definitely bring their own soap and detergent and everything, so it's cheaper. It's way cheaper for them to buy, you know, large quantities than to buy the small individual packets we have. One person also got mad at me for upcharging on those. Like, I should just not make any money, just lose money when I order it and stock it and spend the time doing it. But hey, if you want to save money, there's stores to go buy detergent and soap from, and you can do that ahead of time. $1 coin in the snack, so making sure there's not other ones. Oh, that's something else that happened that was really weird with the change machine. That was in a short too, I think in the same one I posted. I tested it, put a $10 in, got $10 worth of quarters, and a $1 coin came out of it. So those of you who watch me on my videos know that those $1 coins almost always jam up my change counter. And pretty much all of the money that goes into the change machine comes from this change counter. So I don't know how it snuck through or how it got in there, but there was a $1 coin in the change dispenser, and I found out it does dispense $1 coins. So there you go. This is the soap, yes, soap machine right there, and not bad. And then we have the soda / pop / Coke. If I remember correctly, this was $8 in cash. Yep. And then we'll see what we've got in here for change. And as always, we'll have the chart at the end that shows how much all of this totaled. And oh, there's something jamming it up. Is that a $1 coin? No, that is not a $1 coin. That is... oh, that's another Laundromat's token. Okay. See, that's... I mean, I don't know. I guess I could put that in my... That's a little frustrating that you can have tokens that are almost exactly the same size as quarters, and then they get accepted in pop machines and stuff. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what to think of that, but it definitely worked in our pop machine. Okay, and we found in other laundry tokens from other places as well, either in our washers and dryers or in the vending machines. I mean, I guess we could just put it back in the change machine, and then it's pretty much as good as a quarter. But someone might be a little frustrated if they got a token and they're expecting a quarter. I don't know. All right, now let's check and see what we've got in the machines. Like I said, this weekend was really good. See, I already have that bucket mostly full. That's from the big machines I emptied on Monday. And this machine hasn't been quite as full as it was, one of my 80-pounders, because we fixed the 80-pounder next to it. So we did just have one 80-pounder, and that machine was getting the brunt of the work. Yep. Fixed this one, and people like this one way better than the other one. They say it fills with water more, although it seems to be the same. But anyway, so now we've got both 80-pounders working, so that's good, because on Monday, the one on the left was almost overflowing with quarters just from the weekend. So stuff is busy. I think I mentioned it last week. I can't remember. Someone had said they stopped coming to this laundromat because it got too busy. So I'm like, well, I mean, I'm sad that you stopped coming here, but I can understand why if it's too busy, but then it's also, that's kind of a good thing for us. So catch-22 there. But, you know, I've talked to a couple regulars, and they said they've come here and it's been so busy they've had to come back at different times. So that's good. Oh, that is really, really full, and I already emptied that one once this week. So again, that's it. You know, you wish people could always use everything all at once. You don't want them leaving and going somewhere else, but it's also a good thing that you're that busy. So, you know, there is something we could do. I can't expand. It's like I don't have room for more dryers. There's just nowhere to do it unless the DMV goes away and I take part of their lease. My bucket's full. Did you see that? First time ever that I filled up one of these metal buckets with the big washers. So I think we should have a really good week. But anyway, if the DMV leaves, maybe you could expand into there, but that would be tricky. I mean, you'd be tearing out walls, adding more walls to add more dryers takes a ton of fresh air. You know, if you were going to do that, you would probably want to expand your washing space to more washing machines. That gets expensive. Then you're adding drains and power and all that. So, you know, that's also a tricky thing for a business owner. If you're doing well, that's great, right? But then it also makes you want to kind of expand and spend capital to do even better. But then at some point, you know, it's like, well, at some point you want to stop spending all the money you make, or even sometimes even more money than you make, to make it better and better and better. You want to actually enjoy the revenue coming in. So that's the kind of catch 2022. Not 2022. That is not the correct wording. That machine is had an error. I talked about that one last week, how it gives me errors once in a while. It hadn't given me one for a couple weeks, so I should have kept my mouth shut. There's the error code I was talking about. But every time we reset it, it just seems to work fine for a couple more weeks and not cause any issues. This bucket's getting full too, the small bucket. I kind of have to do some different... How does that one smell? Something smells it. Anyway, I've got to take a little different route here because that lady's using those machines. But we'll come back to those. I had to make sure I remembered.
Oh, thank you.
People also ask me, am I worried about getting robbed? The people, I'm actually more comfortable with people in there than not in there. I feel like, you know, if I was there by myself, you're much more likely to get robbed than with a bunch of people there, a bunch of witnesses. Plus, the fire station's right across the street. Not that they're the police, but they are definitely very close with the police and still, you know, have some authority. Would probably help out in a situation like that, I assume. I don't know. And then the DMV's right next door. They have a security guard who's usually around. We have cameras, so there's a lot of different stuff we have that makes me feel pretty safe. And then yeah, she was saying the dryer was doing something weird. And the dryer pulled an error code, which almost never happens. Usually the heat stops working or they stop working. It's very rare they actually pull an error code. So I will check that out and see if my magical appliance touch can fix that. And then yeah, one of the machines behind me had a drain issue, I think, one that I just fixed last week again. And I got distracted and forgot to go back and look at that one. How many quarters did you put in there? So I am adding some quarters because I gave her $1.50. She said she spent $1 on drying. I gave her $1.50. I always try to give people a little bit more than they spend, just for the inconvenience. I think I got this one, but we'll see. But yeah, I will make sure to add that $1.50 back into the bucket for the, I believe that was the big washers. All right, now got to go back and collect those other two ones from the front. But this got to be a new record for washers. There's a lot of quarters in here. I've never needed a second bucket. I was confused there because I put the blue tape because I wanted to use that for my big washers. But I think today or Monday I used it for my small washers. But I went back and looked and I am putting them in the right buckets. But my small washer bucket's almost full too. So this is a lot of quarters, and I'm thinking this should add up to quite a bit of money and probably hit 10,000 quarters, which is $2,500. And yes. Now, I did this last week too, maybe I will learn. When I get my buckets so full, it's really hard to dump them into the change counter without spilling everywhere, which is what I continually do, and did today, because they're just so full. And like I said, the quarters like to lock themselves together and not move, and then when they do move, they all decide to move together as fast as they possibly can. Kind of like a dam, but there you go. So, sped this up quite a bit, because it took a while to count all of these. But I found a couple of interesting quarters. They're both 1965s, but they were copper. From what I've read, they found 10 1965 silver quarters, so they're worth thousands of dollars. If you ever see a 65 quarter, look at the side. If it happens to be all silver with no copper in it, you might have something special. But again, the chances of finding that are pretty rare. you know, the reasons there's rare air code coins and all kinds of stuff. And the reason they're worth so much money is because there are so few of them. So if they're ones that are worth a ton of money, if you find one, that's great, but just realize, you know, it's not easy to find those. That one was just a bent quarter. I was jamming things up a little bit. All right, so for my big washers, 39.08. That is definitely a new record for my big washers. Last week I think I had 36? I can't, 100? Around there. And last week was pretty good. So we'll put all the old washers in here. So nice having the change machine working good again once I put it on the right settings as well. I remember a few weeks ago, no, we'll say a few months ago, I was really happy when I got to 6,000 quarters. That was kind of a good goal. And we're blowing past that. 7,000 quarters would be awesome. And we just hit that. I don't think I've ever done that before. And there's still quite a few in here. So, definitely a new record for washers. Over 7,300. So that's fantastic. We'll chart that. We'll show you on the chart what we have here coming up pretty soon. While we're getting money from the dryers, I did fix the dryer. So I got my keys out, made sure not to touch the motherboard with them because that's what happened to the out of order one right there. I think I fried the motherboard by doing that. Just unplugged the power to it, plugged it back in, boom, it worked again. Put some quarters in, it was heating, hey, there we go. And then I told the same person who had tried to use it before that it was working again and it had like 10 minutes left on it if they wanted to use it, and they're like, oh, ours just ended and our clothes are still wet, so we'll use that one. So everything worked out perfectly. Something else that was interesting, I mentioned my car. Well, it didn't start this morning very well. I had to use my little jumper box thing. Started, drove it around a lot, and then after driving even all the way out to Kersey, it didn't start again. And so it should have been charged. I don't know if it's a battery issue or something else. But had almost no problems with that car. This is really the first problem I've ever had with it. And I have a portable battery charger. It's just a little box and it works really well. Well, I came to the laundromat, tried to start the car, want to start again. So I went out there to use that portable battery charger thing and it said, too hot. I'm like, oh no. So, like, how long is it going to take? So I was ready to go on a busy day. And I thought, you know what I've got that's cold? I've got a pop machine. So I stuck my battery charger in the Mountain Dews and covered it all up. And in about 10 minutes, it was pretty cold. It worked, got the car started, and I was able to leave. So there we go. And two people, one person had said before how my car was bad because it just attracts 12-year-olds or something like that, or just appeals to 12-year-olds. I'm like, what's wrong with making kids happy? Like, that should be a good thing. And kids love it. Kids absolutely love the car, and that's kind of one of the most fun things about it is when you drive somewhere or stop somewhere and kids get so excited to see it because you just don't see them. So I thought it was weird that they thought it was a bad thing that you're making children happy. Anyway, back to counting dryer quarters. We'll see what we've got. Again, that bucket is pretty full too. So if I had to guess, I would say this is probably a new record for dryers too. Last week we had a lot of washer money, but then not as much dryer money as we normally get. And people thought because it's warmer. Well, last week actually snowed on Friday and Thursday, and so one reason I didn't drive fun cars then. And so it's colder. But this week was way nicer. It's probably in the 80s today, and been really nice all week. That counter kept making sounds, so I'm just like, ooh, hopefully the whole thing doesn't fall down. But then I looked underneath it at the end. It looks fairly well supported, so I don't think it's going anywhere. But we do put quite a bit of weight on that counter with all the quarters put up there. I forget, one of those buckets holds, well, we had at least 3,800, 3,700 quarters. How much does 3,700 quarters weigh? Oh, come on, just tell me. I don't want to know how to solve it. Just tell me the number. 20,970 grams. That is not the answer I was looking for in pounds. This is not helping. It weighs a lot. I know that. So anyway, 2,800. That's got to be a new record. I'm 96% sure. New record on dryers too. And that bucket I know weighs about 110 pounds. So here we go. We'll see where everything lines up on the chart. And while that's going, I will go to, you know who's really good? I should have done that to start with. AI programs are very good at answering very simple questions like that like search engines refuse to answer for. Okay, so 3,700 quarters weighs 46 pounds. I finally figured it out. So if we have two of those buckets plus, yeah, we had, you know, over 100 pounds on that counter, which it should be able to handle. But anyway, back to the chart. So green line on top is total revenue. The orange line is the cash we collect from the change machine, which is the cash I take home. Although sometimes we have extra quarters. I do have some extra quarters I need to count now. I just haven't done it yet. And then we have washers, dryers, soap. And then once in a while, yeah, the extra quarter chart pops up there. We need to do that pretty soon. So we're getting closer and closer. We had our record right there. Over $2,700, which blew away our last record. Our last one, I think, was, let me see if I've got the data up to show the last record. 2530 was our previous record. So almost $200 more this week. We didn't do anything special. I didn't go like early one day and late one day. Just had a really busy week, and that's really cool to see. A lot of you remember my goal was to have kind of $2,500 a week after we added more new machines this last fall. And so we've been, you know, we had one $2,500 week, and we've had some other ones pretty good. You can see we've definitely been higher and higher. But it was really, really cool to see this and see a real big jump. And if we can stay 2,500 to 2,700, that'd be amazing. But in the past, we've had some big jumps, you know, in April 2024, and then, you know, you drop back down. You didn't pass it up again until September. And in November, we had a huge one. Didn't pass that up till January. So we've had these big jumps before, and things have dropped back down a little bit. But you never know. Things can happen differently, and we will see what happens next week and the following weeks at the laundromat. But it's cool to see it doing well and good. And, of course, there's always going to be some hiccups and drama along the way, but we managed to take care of those, move on, and then have fun collecting quarters. All right, we'll be back with more laundromat videos. We'll have the small one tomorrow, and then, of course, we'll have more liquor store videos and commercial rentals and flips and all that too. Thanks for watching. Be back soon.